Hello and many thanks for joining us. I am Imonia Marire and this is People, Politics and Power. Now, barring any last-minute change of mind, organized labor in Nigeria is set to commence an indefinite nationwide strike from midnight next Tuesday, that is October 3rd, 2023. The strike, which labor says will result in the total shutdown of the nation, is in protest of what it describes as the federal government's delay in providing palliatives to cushion the economic hardship caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. The planned strike is coming on the heels of a two-day warning strike, which took place on September 5th and 6th, and the expiration of a 21-day ultimatum issued by Labour to government. Labour has accused government of lethargy, tardiness, grandstanding, and refusal to engage in meaningful and constructive dialogue with it during the 21-day period of the ultimatum. It has therefore directed all workers to withdraw their services and embark on street protests. On the other hand, however, the federal government appears to be adopting the carrot and stick approach. Whilst the National Economic Council is appealing to organized labor to shield its sword and suspend the planned strike because it is working to address the demands of labor, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has written to the two labor centers, that is the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, asking them to respect the subsisting June 5 order of the National Industrial Court, which restrained them from any industrial action over fuel subsidy removal and related issues. The Attorney General reminded organized labor that the planned strike will violate a subsisting order and disregard the dignity and integrity of the court. The organized private sector has also voiced very strong concerns about the negative impact such a strike would have on the nation's currently fragile economy. So the question is, who stands to benefit or lose from the planned shutdown? Were there any lessons learned from the two-day warning strike by both the government and labor? What are the likely economic consequences of another strike, even if for a day? Is there no viable alternative to the extreme option of a total shutdown in resolving whatever issues that are at stake? Well, we urge you to join our discussion on this issue as we take a look at the planned strike by the organized labor movement in Nigeria and, of course, the response of government. We'll be joined very shortly by representative of labor, representative of the organized sector, and we'll also be joined by a government official. Stay with us. Let's, for a beginning, take a soundbite from both labor and, of course, from the National Economic Council, which held just yesterday here in the nation's capital, Abuja.
The government has continued to grandstand and forestall all avenues and unwillingness to mitigate the massive hardship in the country, but also a complete lack of intention to take positive steps and empathy for the multidimensionally impoverished citizens of Nigeria. The federal government has therefore not met in any substantial way the demands of the Nigerian workers.
LC and TUC NEC in section resolved as follows. 1. To, in the spirit of the Independence Day celebration, and to demonstrate our resolve for a truly independent Nigeria, to take our destinies in our own hands and rescue our nation. 2, to embark on an indefinite and total shutdown of the nation beginning on 0 hours, Tuesday, the 3rd day of October 2023. 3, to direct all workers in Nigeria to withdraw their services from their respective workplaces commencing from the 3rd of October 2023.
We also believe that Mr. President will be addressing the nation 1st October, and some of the concerns of labor will be appropriately addressed in the President's speech. It is therefore important that it's a federation, so whatever happens, labor is represented in all the 36 states and FCT, and NEC is appealing that discussions should continue at the state levels because there will be peculiarities as to the issues to be addressed concerning the demands of labor.
All right, there you have it, the position of Labour and, of course, of the National Economic Council, which met in Abuja only on Thursday. So we are joined in the studio by Comrade Tommy Etim Okon. He is the Deputy President of the Trade Union Congress, TUC. The TUC, of course, is one of the 2 major labor centers in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Imara.
We're also joined virtually from Lagos, Nigeria's Commercial Nerve Center, by Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf is the Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise and a former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Thank you so much, Dr. Muda, for finding time to join us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Welcome. We will also be joined in a while by Buki Okangbe. Buki Okangbe is a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Okay, so let's begin this way. Comrade Tommy Okon. Is Labour proceeding with the strike, the shutdown of the economy on October 3rd, as was announced a few days ago by the leadership of organized labor?
Thank you very much, Imara. From the soundbite, you know that we are ready for it. And let me also emphasize here, no union want to go on strike because it is very, very difficult to call for strike. But you see, what we are trying to do is to help the government, because sometimes even Mr. President would not know what is going on. But because we are the people closer to the people, and the people have told us the situation, and we have seen the situation on ground, that it is not rosy. So we need to let the government know through expression, through strike.
All right, so what will this strike look like? Is it going to take the form of the 2-day warning strike that happened on the 5th and 6th, or is it going to be much more than that? Because you say it is going to be an indefinite
It's
strike.
going to be was more than that. If you recall, there have been a series of suspension. Suspension of strikes shows clearly that if you suspend, it means you are just marching break. So when you release the break, the strike goes, and it's going to be indefinite, as you'll see from the soundbite, which we did our press conference to that effect. So
is that to say that every aspect of the Nigerian economy and state will be grounded?
Poverty does not understand ethnic group. It does not understand religion. It does not understand the segment of the. So it's the present socioeconomic reality touches on all segments, whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are in the informal sector, whether you are in the public sector, in all. So definitely these areas are affected, and nobody is excluded, even the government themselves.
All right, let's put the issues in perspective before I bring in Dr. Muda Yusuf. What exactly are the demands of labor on this occasion?
If when the removal of fuel subsidy, if labor did not, accept to carry out conversation, people will have said, labor, this. But, we accepted right from June till now. And things are not done the way we supposed and expected. You remember Mr. President addressed the nation and boldly said that within 2 months that over 1 trillion have been saved. And we also believe that the palliative that emanated from that will have been holistic. As we speak, the informal economy is crying. And Mr. President has, in the broadcast, that over 75 billion will be given to the small and medium scale industry to come, and that will have boosted the informal economy. And you look at the manufacturing industry, of which Mr. President has also graciously said, this will have also boosted. When you now look at the states, Mr. President promised the 5 billion to be sent to the state, as well as the greens, which they have started. It has graciously also made available 2 billion. And, these are issues. Then for the staff at the federal, we've not had any pronouncement to that effect. Even the 3,000 buses have not also been released, and so on. So when you look at this, it's a concern, because if we actually love Mr. President, we need to drum it to the ear of Mr. President that these are the reality. Like I said, the strike is to help government. It's not even to help the workers. It's to help government, because government should live up to the responsibility, and we are doing what we're supposed to do well, so that Mr. President will listen and listen very well and take appropriate action to address these challenges.
Let's bring in Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, you heard from the labor leader here, and I'm sure that you have been following the trend of events since the 2-day warning strike. Now, is a full-blown indefinite strike the best option open at this point in time to both labor and government?
Certainly not. Certainly not. Just as my comrade said there, things are really difficult for the ordinary Nigerians. And my perspective is that a strike of the mode that is being proposed will further compound the problems of the ordinary Nigerians. Close to 80% or more of Nigerians make a living from the informal sector. Many of them make a living from daily income, daily activities and daily income. And once there's a disruption of economic activities, this set of people that labor seeks to protect will suffer even more. So that is why I feel that we need to properly choose the strategy we use in communicating grievances to government, so that we don't, in the process of communicating the grievance or expressing those grievances, further worsen the plight of the very people that we are trying to protect, or people in whose interests we were even calling the strike. Secondly, there's a risk to security. We have seen many instances when there's a call for strike, especially if it gets prolonged. These things get hijacked, especially in major cities. They get hijacked by hoodlums, and the whole thing will completely go out of hand. So much so that innocent citizens will now begin to suffer. People will now be breaking into shops and be looting people's property. That risk is also there. There's also the risk to the economy itself. By our estimates, we'll be losing close to, if you have a shutdown of the scope and scale that is being contemplated, we'll be losing not less than 250 billion naira in terms of output on daily basis. 250 billion. That is a lot for an economy that is still struggling. This is not to diminish the point that is being made by Labour. We all know the hardship that we are all going through. All of us are in this together. I must also acknowledge that even the government, just as he also said, just as the comrade said, it's not as if nothing is being done at all, both at the federal and at the subnational level. It's not as if nothing is being done. We have seen some state government rolling out buses, giving out palliatives, giving out some, enhancements in take-home and all of that. And even the federal government, as we speak now, subsidy has even returned into the economy. Fuel subsidy has returned because of the agitations and the feelings, the hardship that has been created. The government has announced the freezing of fuel price. Because if the fuel price has not been frozen, PMS price will have gone to over 800 naira by now. You know, these prices are driven by global oil price. They're also driven by the exchange rate. We look at those two variables, they have changed dramatically over the last 1 or 2 months. So if the government has not intervened to peg the PMS price at the current level, the price will have gone up even more. Now, even some stakeholders in the private sector already, complain that subsidy has returned, and understandably so. Without holding brief for government is also looking at the social implications of allowing the so-called market forces to continue to determine the fuel price. That is why the government has announced the freezing of fuel price. So I understand where Labour is coming from, but also I think we need to situate this within the larger context of society and also find a way, in a way that will be less disruptive and that will also communicate effectively the grievances of Labour and the grievances of both workers and even Nigerians, because I acknowledge the fact that the hardship is enormous. There's no doubt about that. But should avoid the situation of compounding or complicating problems for the ordinary Nigerian.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, let me throw some of those issues that you have raised to the comrade here. Dr. Yusuf has said that there's a possibility of a 250 billion naira loss on every day that this strike will hold. He has also said that there are social implications to this strike. For instance, during that press conference, the Labour leader spoke about mobilizing Nigerians to be on the streets to protest. Now, where is the guarantee that those protests will not spiral out of control and lead to loss of lives and to loss of property?
Well, I want to say that sincerely we appreciate his apprehension, but you need to look at it. Like he rightly said, subsidy have returned. I don't know where he got that from because no government official has come out clearly to tell us subsidy has returned. If subsidy have returned, why do you take it off in the first place and put us in this situation? And like I said, they may be in the system or in the corridor of power, but they don't want to speak to the authority for the reality to be done. But we, who are, like a gatekeeper, and what we are doing is not that Labour just wake up and feel that we like to go on strike, I did say. But you see, the downtrodden, the masses, the informal economy, they are the people agitating so much. And we are under pressure. And if you look at the last 4 months, we have been on the business of engaging conversation with government and then believing that the needful have to be done. Take a look, this is 4 months. We are still in the same situation. The informal economy cannot really grow without the purchasing power from the worker. So if you are still taking back home 30,000 naira, and then the transport situation in the country is alarming, and those who are taking their produce to the market are paying heavily, then when you look at the marginal cost on the unit cost of this product in the market becomes very skyrocketing. Then who are you helping? At least there will have been such interventions in the area of transportation where farmers can take their produce to the farm, take their produce from the farm to the market, vice versa. And you find out that the crashing of the price will be determined by that. Now you look at the cost of diesel now and the cost of fuel. When you add that to the cost of these products, it becomes homocause. And no, there is no farmer that wants to hike the price of its community because he wants to sell and go, knowing the implication that when the price is too much, people will not buy. But nobody will want to go to market and then price good and leave because he does not have the economic power. So it's an all book of garment. We shouldn't just be sentimental about it. Let us call a spade a spade. But don't forget, Mr. President during his electoral campaign told us that he knows what he's going to, that we should not even sympathize with him. He therefore knows that he understood the socioeconomic challenges before he signed his name to run as the president of this country. I don't envy him at all.
Comrade Tommy, let me bring you up to speed with some of the issues that are placed on the table. Labour has been in negotiation, in talks with government for a period of time. At least in the last 21 days, Labour has been having talks with government. There is a committee that comprises government officials and Labour. What has that committee been able to come up with? Why is it that Labour feels that the option of a strike and a shutdown of the economy is the only viable option? Isn't there a possibility of Labour and government working hand in hand over a period of time to resolve these issues? Bring your ideas, government brings its ideas, private sector bring their ideas, and decide on the way forward rather than ground the economy.
You know that's supposed to be an ideal situation. When you come up with a policy, you need to also set up implementation plan. We will have the timeline. And there will be an agency who will be in charge. Let's forget in 2012, when the then government, take the responsibility of dealing with the oil situation. And a committee was set up by Christopher Collade. I want to remember vividly.
It was headed by
yes,
Collade,
and on this Shopee. And you now see, when that happened, the union will now, or the masses as it be, will now know whom to hold responsible. But in this case, Mr. President has graciously made this other announcement. Who do we hold accountable? Because there's supposed to be that implementation timeline where we see the strategy, the one that is immediate, the one that is medium, the one that is long term. You won't have all this. But where you finish negotiation today, tomorrow, announcement is made without even concluding, and so it becomes to be taken about. Where is that trust? Because from the beginning, we were very conscious of the trust deficit. I said earlier that no union even want to go on strike because for us to mobilize, it's very expensive. It's very expensive.
But you do understand that the trust deficit is on both ends.
Yeah, we have given our all. That is why I've told you that look at from June. And don't forget, the pronouncement by Mr. President was made on 29 May. We endured till June. The committee was set up. How many months now, sir? You see, to be very honest, we want to help this government. Let us not look at our approach from a negative perspective. We want to help the government. You know, there are people that if you don't drum hard on their ear, they don't know what to do. We want to help the government. And we feel that our approach in helping the government is to let government understand that the people are suffering. The masses, things are not, how much is a cup of gari in the market? I don't want to talk about rice. I don't want to talk about beans. I don't even want to talk about yam. I don't even want to talk about bread. Do you know in Sudan in 80, it was the increase in the price of bread that people revolt. But Nigeria has been very patient. Now school just resume. Do you know what it takes to send the children back to school? Another generation that is coming. So if care are not taken to address this situation now, it will be counterproductive. This nation is we don't have any way to go to. Have you seen any labor leader of labor?
So my question is, comrade, is strike the only viable option open to labor at this point in time?
For now, yes. Because we have put in all machineries, suspending, negotiating, but it seems nothing works.
So negotiation has not produced any positive results?
We've not seen yet.
All right. Dr. Muda, you heard the NEC, that is in National Economic Council yesterday, plead with labor to be a little bit more patient with government in dealing with this matter. In fact, it did say that discussions should take place at state level, and because the situation cannot be the same across board. The negotiations cannot be only at the federal level. Now, but it appears Labour is made up, or has made up its mind to proceed with this strike on Tuesday at 12 midnight.
Yes, well, just as the spokesperson or the governor that spoke on behalf of the National Economic Council said, I'm sure Labour will also admit that some state governments are actually doing something. I've seen a couple of state governments roll out buses, which people can ride in at highly subsidized rates. In fact, the rate is so subsidized in some states that the commercial tricycle people were even complaining that they were losing their passengers to the government-owned buses and so on. And some of them have also announced a review of wages at the state level. Now, we were also told that some of the issues that Labour has raised are also likely to be addressed during the speech of the October 1st speech of the president. So I'm also hoping that in that speech, some of these issues is likely to be addressed and cleared. And I expect that some more palliatives and interventions will be addressed or will be announced by the president in that speech. So I think that, for me, is also something that we should also look at in determining the shape, the nature, and all of that of the proposed strike by Labour. Then I must also say that on the private sector side, quite a number of private sector players have been adjusting the condition of service for their workers. Some have adopted more remote working to reduce the pressure of transportation on their workers. Some have actually increased the allowances for transport for their workers. So at the private sector level, for those that can afford it, some intervention has also happened. But I must admit that at the SME level, things are quite difficult because for the SME entrepreneur, you can't give what you don't have. But the owner of the businesses themselves are also struggling to survive. So at the SME level, things are really tough. But my proposition would be that first, let's listen to what the president has to say. Perhaps he has been keeping this under wraps to be announced on the Independence Day. That's a possibility. So let's see what will come out from the president's speech. And more importantly, is for us to also see what the engagement process will bring, because I don't think it is a good thing to completely abandon engagement, the discussion. I don't think it's a good thing. I also believe that the government also needs to expedite action on some of the responses, to the complaints of the citizens. I'm sure even the president has acknowledged that some of these policies have brought a lot of hardship, on the people. The president is not denying that. And he also announced some palliatives, I think a few weeks ago or so, but unfortunately, just as the comrade said, I think there's an issue with the framework for implementation of some of those things. Because after those announcements, we haven't seen, any significant outcome from those announcements. So I think there's also a need to do some work on the side of government in terms of operationalizing or activating some of the things that the government has even agreed to do. Those things are important so that that will also give labor some respite, at least that, yes, something is happening.
All right, so Comrade Tommy, if the president on October 1st addresses some of the concerns of labor, will labor go back to the negotiating table? Will labor abandon its desire to go on this strike?
We've never abandoned the negotiating table. We've been on, but because results have not been obvious, that is the reason. Mr. President is our father. Let's see what is going to come out with. I can tell you, but the end will justify the means. We are very eager to see Mr. President succeed. And I want Mr. President to know that the organized labor meant well for him, more than any other person, whether he is his political advisors or not. Because the truth must be told. Some will live on the basis, Your Excellency, you are doing well. Whereas there are problems. They will not come to tell Mr. President, well, you are doing well. But we feel that in this area, there is need for you, to ensure that the prompt action. I think some will not even have the patience to do that. Some will even meet Mr. President and discuss their personal issue. But we don't have that. We are discussing the holistic challenges that faced Nigerian as a whole. We are not looking at ourselves. So these are issues. And of course, if Mr. President come up on his speech and say X, Y, Z will be implemented, these are the time frame, we will all be glad. And let me also tell you, if the president succeeds, it's not the union that they say they have succeeded. It is even the government that will say the government is doing well. Nobody will come and remember, the union and say, you people did well. No, it is the government that they will celebrate. The government have done well. So the union, our role is to make sure that the government is doing very well. We are expectant, and we cannot go short of that, because that is the only hope that people are waiting for. What will become the president broadcast on 1st October? That is another
just 2 days. Just 2 days.
Just 2 days ago.
Right. Now we must put on record here that we made very strenuous efforts to get spokespersons of government, particularly from the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, to be on this program. But of course, we have not been successful. But we have joining us right now a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress youth stakeholder, Mr. Nworisa Gerard. Mr. Gerard, thank you so much for finding time to join us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you
Welcome.
for having me.
Right. I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation so far as the planned strike by organized labor is concerned. The Independence Day celebration is just 2 days away on Sunday, and every Nigerian is expectant of what the president is likely to put on the table in his Independence Day broadcast, whether or not it will address the concerns of labor and indeed of Nigerians. What do you think which the labor and government should be doing at this point in time to avert this strike?
Thank you very much. No matter how we say it, the labor is fighting for everyone in the country. We know that. My only problem is that they shouldn't make it look like, the strength of the labor leader is directly proportional to the number of strikes they are able to achieve. We know they mean good, but they should always listen to the president. Give him that time, because no matter how they try to fight for us, you will find out that the thing is clamping down on the economy, because Nigerians are already suffering so much. They shouldn't, in the process of trying to fight for us, cause more harm on Nigerians. So what they have to do now is to continue being patient with the president. Like, let us just wait for him to the October 1st, for him to, intimate Nigerians on what he has for us before the end of the year, because there must be time. No matter how, you cannot tell president that today release so money. We are not in military era. Everything will pass through the normal procedure, and we now pray that all this money will get to, will circulate it judiciously among Nigerians. It's not about president doing this or releasing money or doing that. It's about the people it's entering their hands, whether they will do exactly what they are supposed to do. So patience is key here for the level. They just have to be patient. A little bit more for the president.
But they have been patient for 21 days. During the 21-day ultimatum given by Labour, is that not long enough time for government to have reached some kind of understanding with Labour?
I still don't think it's enough. I still don't think it's enough, because if you check the president, when he came in meeting a lot of problems. Before you know it, other countries are already having issues, which he is already on the head of the affairs, supervising what is happening in other countries. There are a whole lot of problems, not just in Nigeria, but other African countries. They should just, those days they are giving the president, to me, it is not enough. I know they have tried, but they should just still be patient with the president.
All right.
And lastly, they should also remember that strike is different from protest, because before from strike, they are going on strike. Some of them will start protesting and start damaging government properties. The leader should warn its members against vandalization of government properties, because we've had enough in the country, starting from 2020 to now. All we need is peace and coming together to give the government all the support they need to make sure that this country works. It's not a matter of APC or PDP or Labour Party or any party. No. We all have to come together and help. And when we help and find out that they are not doing anything, that's when we react.
All right, comrade, was this announcement strategic? I mean, the announcement before the president's broadcast. Could Labour not have waited until after the October 1st broadcast to hear what the president would say before coming up with this date for this strike? Was it deliberate?
If you recall, we led a protest, a joint protest, TUC, NLC, still to awaken government's consciousness about the socio-economic challenges. And if you also recall, like I said, from June till now, 4 months, we have series of engagement, and we have also been patient. Like you mentioned the issue of 21 days, that was just to tell government, yes, we are waiting again for another specific period of time. Honestly speaking, our concern is the government, is the economy. We don't have any other country. We don't want it to degenerate to what we see in the neighborhood. No, sir. So, before Labour came up with the announcement, it therefore means that we have exhausted the patient with the notice. So it came on time, and it's also very important too. Perhaps, maybe it is strategically for it to come before 1st October, which Mr. President will make a national broadcast and also pronouncement. But let me say this for emphasis. no union like strike. Like my brother said, I'm happy that he's also sympathized with labor and the economy as it is. If we work in harmony the way we are going, and let government realize and wake up to the responsibility, because the citizens have shown enormous concern, enormous patience. Will you take patience to pay your children's school fees? Will you go to the market to buy food for your children, and when you reach the seller, you said, my name is Patient, I came to wait till government announced? You know, a lot of people are indebted. A lot of people are frustrated. You know, and you see, as we are now, if labor did not back up the removal of first subsidy, people would have said the economy will have boomed, this will have been done, and so. But labor was patient, even when the pronouncement was made without conversation with labor. You know, let us be very sincere about these old processes.
Okay, Dr. Muda, let me bring you in here now. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has said that the labor will be in violation of a subsisting court order if it proceeds with this strike on October 3rd. How is that likely to play out with labor? I mean, the response of labor to that kind of statement by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Well, it appears that Dr. Muda is not there for the time being, but let me throw that question back to you.
Well, I think the Attorney General itself should answer it, because, you know, we are not in a military era, and you cannot coerce labor. You know, you can't be the child, and you ask the child not to cry. I think
But there's a subsisting court order.
You know, you see, I don't want to dwell on that, because government knows themselves they are the violators of court orders. So let us not even
that government violates the court order does not give labor the right to also violate.
The government violates court order. There are series of court orders which the government have also
but
violated.
that's the point I'm making.
You know, so we are. If you look at labor modus operandi, you know, we are very organized, and we don't just take action. We take action when we know that it is. And again, you see, trade is not also an option. You know, I think government should realize that by now, and I want to stop at that.
Does labor intend to vacate that order before October 3rd?
We don't even know the order they are talking about.
Was it not served on you?
I've not seen any court order served on us.
This is as far back as June.
When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it, Imore.
All right, Mr. Sir Gerard, let's bring you in here at this point in time. Labour is probably seeing this position of the Attorney General as an attempt to threaten the labor movement. How do you think that would play out?
I don't think it's a threat. In my own opinion, I don't think it's a threat. I think the Attorney General was only trying to let them know the position of the law in what they are about to embark on. You know, because if they are the people that the courts have given a judgment on their own behalf, and the government is going against, happy. You know, that's why the Attorney General is trying to tell them, see, what you are about to do is not good. You know, it's going against the.
Mr. Gerard, are you still with us? All right.
You see, well, let me also add, you see, like the issue of Retran, there was a judgment in the court against Lagos State to vacate the office up to today. And if you look at one of our demands, it is there clearly stated. The Lagos State government have not even done anything to that effect.
But the one of NRUTW, government has taken action.
Why have
No,
not
because that's at the federal level.
yes.
That's at the federal
That
level.
that's for the states.
Which brings me to the issue that was raised
Do
by the
governor
national...
have the power to prescribe the union instead? I mean, you see, like I said, we are not meant to dwell on this. What we meant to dwell is what the people are going through now. The masses are suffering in various ways.
So you agree that these are just ancillary
It's
matters?
ancillary matter.
So we should put them aside and face
let us face the struggle.
So that we don't muddle up the issues. We don't muddle up the issues.
Yes, it's a distraction.
Which leads me to the next issue, what was said after the National Economic Council on Thursday, to the effect that negotiations should in fact also be taking place at the state level, or in fact should shift to a state level. What's Labour's attitude to that?
Well, when there's a conversation, Labour is in support of any conversation that will bring succor to the people as far as this is concerned. But don't also forget that even the palliative to the states, we are also collating data, because we have our monitoring team to see how these are implemented. So, and what we are against...
And how has that gone so far?
So far, when the time comes, we'll come on that, and we'll make it public to know the states that are doing well, that are not distributing based on party level and so on. We're going to come on to that. But you see, a point of emphasis is this. When you look at the old gammon of this, you find out that, there are people within the corridor of power that are not seeing it from a positive line. They are seeing it how negative, causing commotion, and it's supposed not to be so. It's supposed not to be so in all honesty. I think the point we need to look at, yes, let us support this cost for the betterment of our country, Nigeria. The informal economy have come out clearly, they know. The manufacturing company, they also know. Like the deduction in working days and virtual. You look at the economy, do we really have the competency in terms of virtual work? And if a state sit down and fix salary, that is also against, the constitution, because the area of what we are really looking for is the wage award, where Mr. President have the competence to announce. But that does not say it's a national minimum wage. Because people keep talking, minimum wage. No. Okay. The national minimum wage is a constitutional matter. And of course, there are also a structure where that, and it's a matter that will go back to the National Assembly and so. But those deliverables, the low-hanging fruits, if we get it now, buses, to ease transportation, like some states are doing. We commend those states who are doing that. But let them not hide in deduction of work hours, because it's an e-week that blow nobody any good. You are killing productivity in the pretense of reduction in the working hour. No matter what. Some states will say we have added 10,000 to the salary and so on. We appreciate them. But let us also think holistically, what will this amount to?
Okay, comrade, let's quickly, because our time is almost up, say in the next 2 minutes, look at another issue that is most likely going to come up during the strike. And that issue has to do with something that came up just a few days back. The issue of 17,000 workers who are not captured by the IPPIS.
Thank you, Maury. I think that is even a major concern now. And I want to say with all due respect, I want to commend the head of service of the Federation, because I think she was aware when this matter happened. And we quickly got, engaged her and conversation, and she did that intervention. And we've also come out with a release to tell our members to calm down the workers so that there should not be so much apprehension in the land. Because when you wake up and 17,000 non-verified in the IPPIS, it will have been counterproductive, if not our intervention. So I think they are doing things about it. And I want to also tell our members, in case your salary is delayed, don't be that worrisome, because there's also a room for supplementary, which they are going to work on it. But we have also given a window of 1 week to see those who have genuine cases to come with verification. I think there should be that synergy between the Office of Accountant General of the Federation and the head of service of the Federation, because there's a lot of modeling up. There's a lot of modeling up, and that is not good enough. Because if you now jack them off, the payroll, that is one leg of it. But there are also procedure to get things done right. And I believe that there will be that window to correct every lapses associated with this, so that Nigeria can continue to be in peace.
All right, I'm told that Dr. Muda is back with us now. Dr. Muda, I'm going to come to you now to give us your closing thoughts as we round off our discussion. What do you think needs to be done to avert this impending shutdown of the economy?
Well, just to appeal once again to Labour, to give government more room, to listen to what the president will say on October 1st, and to give even more bigger room for engagement with government at all levels, both sub-national and the federal. And also to appeal to the government to those who are supposed to be responsible for the implementation of the palliatives and intervention that have been agreed and even announced by the president. I think they also need to act more expeditiously, so that should convey the commitment of government, to Labour and to Nigerians, that yes, the government is concerned about the hardships that have been inflicted as a result of these reforms. I must acknowledge these reforms are inevitable, but again, we should find a way to manage the social outcomes of those reforms. So the bureaucracy or whoever is in charge of implementation needs to act more swiftly and more expeditiously.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Mr. Gerard, let's give you 60 seconds to quickly wrap up your thoughts.
Thank you. Like Dr. Yusuf have already said, the NLC, they should follow the path of nobility, also understand that Nigerians, they can cause more harm on Nigerians, thinking they are fighting for us. All of us, we are solidly behind them, but they should understand. Everything have to end on the table, no matter how they see it. They should just be patient with the president. I hear him out this last time. It's October 1st. Let's hear him out and hear what he has to say. And we also urge those at the helms of power, those at the villa, to also understand that Nigerians are really suffering right now.
Okay.
And make moves. If what they wanted to do before would take like 1 month, let them make it 2 weeks. It's no matter of NLC now. It's a matter of.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nworisa Gerard, the member of the ruling All Progressives Congress Youth Stakeholder. Thank you so much for your time. And Dr. Muda Yusuf, Director and Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, and a former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industries. And of course, right here in the studio, we had Comrade Tommy Etimokon, who is the Deputy President, Trade Union Congress, TUC. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And for you, our viewers out there, we thank you for investing your time with us. Everyone is waiting with bated breath for Mr. President's Independence Day broadcast and hoping that whatever it comes up with, we mitigate this strike. Do have yourself a wonderful weekend and happy Independence anniversary. Bye for now.